Cohosh, known mostly as a female herb, but really great for men too. It's an expectorant and a nervine, which means that it kind of calms you down. It is native to Eastern and North America, but now cultivated and used in Europe and in Asia, and it really does love moist woodlands. You use mostly the roots and some of the underground stems that grow with this plant. It has a very distinct smell to it when flowering, very, very strong. A beautiful, beautiful white plume, very majestic plant. It naturally repels insects, and that's what gave it its nickname, bugbane, because it is a great insect repellent. The roots have this very resinous smell to it when they're fresh, but don't smell so resinous. Don't smell so resinous when they're dried. They completely envelop your senses. It's so strong. You could see why this makes bugs go away. But how does it make bugs go away? That is really interesting, because this herb has a reputation that it is estrogenic, kind of changes hormonal things in the body or assists with that, and it gets rid of bugs. But also, some of the pesticides that we spray in our country are known estrogen mimickers, and that's what kills the big giant bugs that come around in the environment. So it's chemicals mimicking nature naturally, for sure. So in the history of this beautiful, beautiful plant, the Native Americans did not hesitate to see the magic of this wonderful plant. They used it for snake bites inside and outside. Topically, they used it for snake bites, but also internally. Arthritis, fatigue for women, a champion plant, because it helps with discomfort of menstrual cycle and any type of childbirth issues. They used it for that. They used it in tea as just a regular tea for female tonic, and they also used it externally for stiffness and internally, stiffness and rheumatism. Female conditions, even the Cherokees use it for female conditions as a tonic and a natural diuretic. Native Americans really, really used this plant a lot and talked of it. Early Americans used it for yellow fever or malaria. They used it with fevers, bronchitis. They reported using it for swelling, uterine issues, nervous disorders, and as a sedative. They really use this plant that loves to grow in this moist environment, this beautiful Black Cohosh. In the late 19th century, there was a formula, even my mom talks about it. It's called Lydia E. Pinkham's, and the slogan was "a baby in every bottle," because it helped balance your body with this Black Cohosh, thereby balancing hormones. And for people who couldn't get pregnant, they drank a lot of Lydia E. Pinkham's. My mom talked about it, and I remember having a conversation about this with my grandma years and years ago. So much fun to think that that was used by our grandparents, our grandmothers, and even pioneers coming across the plains. You know, they had stress, they had lots of things going on, but once they started to develop, they had some of the same problems, maybe of infertility and things that we have going on, and they went to this magic plant, and I think we should too. It is a natural anti-inflammatory. It has those type of properties, so helps with like arthritis and things like that. Can help normalize menstruating, and after childbirth, it is really terrific for settling down some discomfort that happens, and sometimes even getting rid of the blues or melancholy with pregnancy. I need to talk about pregnancy for a minute here, because this is a tricky plant for pregnancy. This is a plant that can cause you to have contractions where you do not want to have those contractions. Black Cohosh is used for menopause symptoms, for hot flashes and things like that. Most of the time, it's used with another plant, and it's used very safely and great with that. But if you use it during the early parts of your pregnancy, you need to really look at the look at it, that it can cause uterine contractions. One of the ways that it is used, or could be used, is the last 6 weeks of a pregnancy, where you introduce it a little at a time, and increase it to the last 6 weeks of your pregnancy, thereby feeding and nourishing the cervix, softening things up, letting things get loose, and de-stressing that little pregnant mom who's at the end of her pregnancy. So it's super useful with that. I usually mix it with red raspberry and blue cohosh, because blue cohosh marries so well with black cohosh. I can hardly talk about black cohosh without blue cohosh, because they go together hand in hand, especially in female formulas. Adding blessed thistle and some of those other to this end of pregnancy formulation is really effective. But most of the formulas, if you want to look one up, you would look up a 6-week formula. That's what they're talking about, a 6-week formula, where you would start for 1 dropper of tincture for a whole week, and then 2 droppers the next week, and 3 droppers the next week, because it can cause uterine contractions in the body. So talk to your midwife or your healthcare provider that helps you with herbs, and do a lot of research. Susan Weed has talked a lot about this. She's got a great herbalist that has great information on this. So great herb to be used, but you need to kind of talk about it when we talk about pregnancy, for sure. Black cohosh has vitamin A in it, vitamin B5, it's got calcium, it's got iron, there's magnesium in it, potassium, phosphorus. It's full of trace minerals, and it's said to have phytoestrogens properties in it, or estrogen. Phytoestrogens are plant estrogens, but now there's some debate there about these phytoestrogens and estrogens. It is something that the scientists are even saying, even when they look under the microscope at this amazing plant, Black Cohosh, they cannot say that it has estrogens in it. And that's the fear of people using Black Cohosh is, oh, there's estrogens and I am estrogen sensitive or whatever. Yeah, we are estrogen sensitive. We do have an issue with it. We're spraying bug spray with these phytoestrogens everywhere. We've got estrogen mimickers that come through in plastics, and a whole environmental host of things that are wanting to link into our estrogen receptors. Yeah, we're all estrogen sensitive. What do we do about it? Well, some people say don't take plants like Black Cohosh. Not me. I say take plants like that. How do I know? Because I've talked to thousands of women who have done it, and they think it makes them feel better, and it makes their symptoms get better, and it makes their skin get better, and some things get better that are, out of whack, hormones out of whack. And so don't be afraid of this. Even guys, don't be afraid of this, because you can take this herb to help the estrogens in your own body. Because you know what happens when estrogens go crazy in the environment for men? They gain weight, they can't get muscle mass, they oftentimes have depression or blues, or they become more angry or more sullen. That's what happens. And so it is something really important for men in our environment to balance those also. So it's reported that it has estrogens, but there's other scientists that say it doesn't have estrogens. It just helps your own body balance your own estrogens. Even if you've had a hysterectomy. I didn't think we could balance a women's hormones if they were taking synthetic estrogens, or even if they didn't have any ovaries and had a full hysterectomy. I didn't think that was the case. But then I started to listen to stories of women where they would tell us, yes, you can. And somehow I started to believe that within our own cells lives this memory, and you just feed the memory and the body seems to respond, even if we've been surgically put into menopause, even if we've had those parts of our body removed, we can still support that naturally. And if you're having a hard time doing it, maybe Black Cohosh is something that will help you with that. The other sister ones are Black Cohosh, Blue Cohosh, red raspberry helps with those things, mother's wort, blessed thistle. You can go through lots of things. How about wild yam? Lots of those different girl herbs. Gosh, I can think of 1,000 female herbs that actually could feed the body. I mean, mother's wort is one that is just a random one. How about shepherd's purse? I mean, some of these, how about pennyroyal? There's some cautions associated with that if you're pregnant, but pennyroyal is another one that, has really helped women with this. Mixing it with some of these different herbs that you're attracted to help you balance your hormones can help you take charge of what's happening in your body by feeding your body what it needs and responding to that. So a lot of people get really concerned about certain herbs, and this is one of them. I just want you to know that you're never going to be comfortable with this herb as a female unless you use it, really. And actually as a male too, or in the healing profession of being an herbalist or being an herbalist for your family. It's one that you definitely would want to embrace. So let's say, what are the other things? It has a natural chemical in the plant that's a precursor to aspirin, so it actually can help your body relieve some of the symptoms associated with discomfort. And it's got tannins, which it has an astringent property. One of the reasons it works so well on female issues is because it has that astringent property, and it helps the uterus return to its normal size, pulling the uterus down, feeding the uterus, and having the uterus go down as a muscle, and expelling any waste that may stay in there and cause infections, bacteria, or crazy things to grow in the body. It is mostly used as the root, for sure, and it is the resin in that root that is in there. It has this incredible ability to adjust to the body, but this herb tells you when you have eaten too much of it, for sure, because it will either give you a headache or will make you throw up. So listen to this one. You start slow on this herb, but you can put it with other herbs, and it settles down this herb that is going to do what it's going to do. It's going to help your body balance, but if you do too much of it, your body definitely responds. Black cohosh supports the female system in so many different ways. It can slow menses or even cramps. There's a 2013 study showing better ovulation and implantation rates. And as far as childbirth is concerned, it initiates uterine contractions, so it can help settle down hemorrhaging in the body, but also it can help to start labor moving forward. And it can also, if you're past the due date or whatever, we have used it in our family and for generations for that, can help settle down after pains and nervousness associated with just having a baby, and it can also help settle down the imbalance that kind of happens there altogether with childbirth, usually used with other herbs. Now, as far as menopause is concerned, it is well known for that. Some people say, well, I tried to balance my hormones through menopause and hot flashes, but I used black cohosh and it didn't work. Here's things you have to know about menopause and black cohosh. It needs to be good black cohosh. You need not to have any fillers in it. It needs to not be in a tablet unless, the tablet's all veggie or whatever, and it has no fillers in it. It needs to have not been heated. It needs to have been a full amount. Some people take 100 milligrams. Well, an average capsule will be like 500 milligrams. Take that much, but if you don't need that much, then open the capsule and take less, but make sure you're getting the raw plant, or what's in the capsule is just black cohosh or has a combination of other herbs that will work with it. Because some people say it doesn't work. Well, it does work. You just have to take it in the way that it needs to be taken, so that you start out a small amount, and usually I do it in a formula with red raspberry and a few other things, dong quai and a couple of things like that, and you start it with a small amount. If you have hot flashes or night sweats, you start at night, and then you go in the morning, and every time you have a hot flash or a night sweat, you take a little bit more and a little bit more until it settles down. The most I've seen is a lady took about 18 capsules in a day of it, but usually it's 1 or 2, 3 or 4, 5 or 6, and then you settle your body down with these female herbs, and you can see your body balancing and normalizing kind of itself, and these herbs can help that happen. There's a study of 629 patients that actually saw about 80% improvements after about 6 to 8 weeks with black cohosh in hot flashes, night sweats, headache, nervousness, and irritability. Even depression was in that group. It's an incredible feather in the hat of black cohosh, and really being able to say, okay, this plant is useful for us. There's some other studies associated with relieving depressive mood and anxiety associated with menopause, and it seems to be, they noticed that it was even far superior from other therapies that had been tried. It clearly demonstrated its superiority in the treatment of menopause symptoms, and especially in safety and side effects. When that is taken into consideration, it wins hands down. It's worth you messing around with these females' herbs to figure it out, to be able to protect yourself from some of the side effects of some of the other chemicals that are out there. There is a hormone replacement study in 1994 that increased, a synthetic hormone replacement study. We're not talking about black cohosh, we're talking about the synthetic portion where they kind of mimicked it from these type of plants, where it increased female cancers, heart attacks, strokes, brain tumors, dementia, and dominant cancers. I mean, cancers that just, so much so that the study was stopped and halted. And the lady said there were too many people dying. It was a study put on by, paid for by pharmaceuticals that said that they were trying to prove that their drug was able to reduce fractures in hip fractures, and they found that it just didn't work, and it wasn't. And maybe if it did work, it was the side effect. You know, the payoff wasn't that good, and so there was a huge upheaval, and it was a big deal, and it made news. But then, bottom line is, women would rather live without the hot flashes and the night sweats and the problems, and live a little less longer and have a better quality. And that we understand. But at least it's worth working because of the side effects, working with these plants to see if you can get your body into balance, and maybe you have lesser amount of that synthetic chemical that could be breaking down your body and making it cause it to grow cancers and things like that. I mean, the studies show that really does happen, and it's not just a pretend thing, but yet there's people so many women in menopause in the United States that are just going in every month into menopause, and there is no option. I went with my 80-year-old mom to the doctor, and it was a gynecologist, and she was healthier than he was. And he said he wouldn't even touch her if she didn't go on estrogen replacement therapy. And luckily, we changed doctors, and we love him. We appreciate him for his effort and his point of view. But that was his point of view, and you have to remember that if that's all he knows, that's all he knows. So either educate or go to a doctor that works more with your philosophy. We easily moved on and found a doctor that was willing to work with her, especially at 80 years old, not to take synthetic things into her body that she didn't want to and hadn't in her whole life. So I'm grateful for those progressive doctors that look at this as being the choice of patients. It's a fun, exciting thing to see all these doctors coming on board and all this information coming on board. And you know, they're saying, oh gosh, herbs are amazing, and all of us herbies are saying we knew they were amazing, and we're super excited that this research and information comes out. But we're more excited that you as an individual can have the things that may be bothering you lifted, ailments or things happen, your body work better so that you can be better and be healthier. So back to the recommendations, there is lots of proof that they're prescribing this in Germany. There's a 2002 study using just black cohosh, and it significantly lowered the risk of developing breast cancer. Interesting. That is interesting. Let's listen to this. The study in 2002 said it's significantly lowering the risk of developing breast cancer. In Germany, these people study herbs. Germany studies herbs all the time. You can get research from them that is good, that is credible, white paper studies out there. Do you hear me? I see all of these women who have breast cancer. And what's the recommendation? The recommendation is that they don't take black cohosh into their body. If I were you, or if this was me, I would print off every study. I would find it. It's all over the internet. Look for it for yourself. Take responsibility for your life. Take this to your doctor that you've chosen as your healthcare provider and say, here, let's get educated together because this is the latest information on black cohosh, and I want to look at this. And if they say no, I get it. But at least you've done your due diligence and you are taking care of your body. Then if they say no, then you can choose what you want to do from there. Anyway, this is an issue that I feel like is so covered up, and it's where everybody gets afraid of black cohosh. And I just want you to know that sometimes the fear of it comes from folklore, really just folklore, and misunderstanding the plant. So let's talk about some other great things that black cohosh does. It can help the body stimulate the lungs so that they function better, helps break up mucus and phlegm. It's a natural expectorant to get that phlegm out and open up the lungs. It's definitely been used a lot for asthma and whooping cough, the symptoms associated with whooping cough and associated with TB. It can stimulate secretions from the body, the spleen and the liver, the kidneys, and the lymphatics. It helps move things through the body. Even while it moves things through the body, it also settles down the body, settles down the nervous system, nervous tension, and it's a natural nervine tonic for both men and women, just settling things down. Sometimes it can settle down headaches, a little cup of it or some cup of tea or a couple of capsules can settle down discomfort in the body. It's kind of a safe type of sedative because it doesn't really usually interact with really much of anything else. It can help with brainstem damage in the body and with spasms. It's been known for epilepsy. We have definitely seen things in epilepsy, even in grown men. Definitely seen success with that for people using it, and also tinnitus, and also symptoms associated with spinal meningitis and moving that through. Of course, most of these things, I would always use more herbs or more diet methods with them in healing, but this is a great catalyst herb specifically for those things. In certain situations, it can be very effective for young girls and boys in maybe even a tincture form for epilepsy and for blood flow to the pelvic area. It's one of those that can help feed the pituitary gland, and it tends to equalize circulation. You know, sometimes it's, you know, you have better circulation on one side of the body or the other. It helps equalize that and can slightly lower the heart rate of a racing heart. It can strengthen the force of a heartbeat and help with inflammation externally as well as internally. You can use a poultice for stiffness or muscular pain, rheumatism. It's used to settle down discomfort in the body. It can be used for bee sting allergies externally and internally. And even other things like other kinds of bug bites. It is a natural blood cleanser for lymphatic, for spleen, for helping to settle down things with fevers and settling down diarrhea. It's been used a lot as a poison antidote for snake bites, and you know, we talked about driving away a natural insecticide. And there's studies showing that it has a natural uterine stimulant effect, which we know it does. It stimulates the uterine to settle it down and make things normalize there. That's where you need to not take it while you're pregnant or think that you will be pregnant the first part, because it's a natural uterine stimulant and you don't want to stimulate your uterus when you're, of course, having a baby. Antimicrobial activity is present in it. It is a natural analgesic. It can help the body with its bone density. So we know that with bone density with women, it's a calcium thing. We know that, but it's not just a calcium thing. How do you get that calcium into the bone? How does that calcium that you're ingesting translate into going into the bone? It does that by our hormones, but our hormones are sometimes so out of whack that we can't assimilate that calcium. The calcium doesn't assimilate well. Well, balancing our body's hormones is the obvious way, because what happens? What drives the calcium into the bones? The hormone balancing of your own body. Feed that part of your body. Like, for instance, Black Cohosh lives in the family with saw palmetto and damiana and dong quai and blessed thistle and all of these other female herbs and male herbs that we have listed, because they help your body to be able to normalize what's going on in the body and use your body's proper channels to be able to talk to each other, to be able to get that calcium into the bones, because your hormones are the system throughout your whole body. That's what makes everything talk to each other, and that's what makes everything communicate so well in the body. Your toes talk to your nose, but if that's disrupted because of synthetic things, because of stress, because of whatever causes hormones to go out of balance, whatever that is, your body needs help. And so if hormones play a big part of bone density and you have problems with that, I mean, you can eat all the ground up rocks you want of calcium, it's not going to go in unless you give it an escort. Hormone balancing herbs are escorts. They help the calcium get into the bones to make them stronger and healthier. We've seen it, we notice it, and you can test it on yourself. It's an easy bone density test that you can use Black Cohosh or all the other female herbs that I talked about. See what works for you. See what helps you escort your minerals into your bones to make them stronger, thereby making all your cells healthier and well, feeding them nourishment. I mean, just straight nourishment in the body. So let's talk about safety. There are no known hazardous amounts of Black Cohosh, but in large amounts, we kind of talked about, it can cause a headache and it even can cause you to throw up. So what happens is just take a smaller amount or discontinue use. Now remember, there is no use in early pregnancy, even not until the very late final weeks of pregnancy, and do it under the direction of a trained midwife to either help the body induce labor naturally. And usually if you would do that, you would take a couple of capsules, maybe Black and Blue Cohosh or a combination that has a few herbs in it like that, and then you would lay down and take a nap, you drink lots of water, get lots of rest, and if the body was going to kick into labor naturally, it certainly will. Then you would wait 24 hours and you could do it again, take 2 more, and some people do it like every 6 hours, whatever. I have done this until it has made me have a headache before. Then you know if you're taking too much and you need to back away and your body's not ready to go into labor yet. And so that's one of the things that you need to watch for, is the only cautions associated with that. And just to stay away from it early pregnancy, towards the end, you know, research that. So you can use this wonderful plant fresh or dried. Teas, capsules, tinctures. You can use it combined with other herbs. Really, really great with lots of other herbs. I talked about some of them, but another one is bayberry and squaw vine and damiana, red raspberry. You know, we've mentioned these herbs, these female herbs that marry well. And remember, I've got to mention Blue Cohosh, because Blue Cohosh and Black Cohosh are just made in this world to be able to live together and help support the female body. And I hope you give it a try. I hope that as men, you can give it a try with the girls around you and yourself as a sedative effect, and see how it might help you in balancing your body. Because if we balance our bodies in this estrogenic imbalance, environmental situation that we're in, if we can balance them while we're trying to change things in the world, it helps us think clearer and be better, be stronger, and be able to be more effective in the things that we need to do to make this a better place to be.